Juneteenth officially becomes a federal holiday, and federal agencies scramble to get everything shut down for the Juneteenth holiday. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. Joe Manchin offers an amendment to the voting rights bill, and Mitch McConnell says no, but Stacey Abrams says yes. And we'll talk a little bit about the interesting part of that. Full disclosure, I've not read the amendment yet. But we'll still talk a bit about what's going on with that. Oh, what else do we have going on today? Mark and Patty McCloskey plead guilty to a misdemeanor and turn over their weapons. I have questions, but we'll talk a bit about what's going on there. And the Space Force has fired the first shots into the drug war. You knew it was coming because it's the Space Force and it's the drug war. It's going to be all this and more Over on Contemporary, hey, 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 do you trust the plan yet? I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Well, I apologize. The thunderclap roused me up at 3, and then I couldn't get back to sleep until 4, and then, when the alarm clock went off at 5, my body was like, no, I don't think so. And, even once the snooze was going on at 6, I'm like, bleh, bleh, bleh. And then like 6:40, I'm like, shit, I gotta get up. So I got up and we got started, and, now I have wet clothes because I had to clothes to hang out too, but regardless, the news stops for nobody, and we have plenty. We still have 10 tabs left over from yesterday, you guys. So we're going to get through this. We've got a bunch of stuff to go over. Hopefully, we won't have to do so many big, heavy asides like we did yesterday. So we can actually get through. I think it was 37 was the last count, and we've done that in a Contemporary before. Even starting at 7:30, we've done that in a Contemporary before. So let's look at this. Let's see what's going on. Let's get through this here. But before we get started, head on over and check out my friends over at the Freedom Scoop Media Group, where you can check out great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, The R-Rated Conservative, The Freckles and Brit Show, and what am I missing? The Generational Gap. Duh. They were one of my first programs I picked up. How can I forget the Generational Gap? But you will have a lot of watch options tonight because I believe the Freckles and Brit Show is tonight. You'll have the Daily Ignoramus later on today. The R-Rated Conservative is also tonight. We won't have me tonight, but you can go and check out any of them and check out the website and bookmark that freedomscoop.com so we can get that constructed, get that built up, especially for you, the viewer, and you can come over there and help us support great creators. All right, let's look at your finance, which went down again. I don't have the number because it reset because somebody overslept. But it was down. You can see where it was down. It shot up at the beginning of the day and it just fucking tanked because nobody knows what's happening with the country and the direction that it's going. And, I mean, they're talking about making Biden take a cognitive test at this point, which means the cackler-in-chief will be the new president coming in if they come back to do that. But it's about fucking... we should have been doing this in the primaries, you guys. But we will see what happens with that. On your Bitcoin is down to 37,801.40. That had a little bit of a significant drop overnight because when I first pulled this up last night when I was doing show prep, it was at 39,000 still. But yeah, we're down at 37,801 US dollars, and at 40 US cents is your Bitcoin right now. So it's on a little bit of a sale right now, and this is not official financial advice, but I like to buy things when they're on sale. Bitcoin's on sale right now, so think about it. Ask your financial advisor if this is the right move for you. For legal purposes, that's the way you should be doing it, but ask your financial advisor. All right, let's look at the gas for the morning here. Top 10 gas stations and cheap fuel prices in Madison, Wisconsin. 268, 268, 269. A little bit of a drop in price from some other stations. We only have a couple in the 270 range and one in the 280 range, but that's not in Madison proper, so your gas might be coming back down a little bit because, hey, now they can start drilling on U.S. land for oil again. We don't have to go depend on other countries because those leases, they're back in business. All right, let's see what the investors have to say here. Starting with Investors Business Daily, Dow Jones futures fall, don't sleep on sector shifts and market rally. Adobe extends breakout, Amazon, Google near buys from Ed Carson. Dow Jones futures and S&P 500 futures fell modestly Friday morning, while NASDAQ futures were little changed. The stock market rally was deeply divided Thursday, with techs running higher, while many real economy sectors suffered significant damage. Adobe earnings overnight provided a positive read on software that, as that broader sector heats up, Adobe stock rose before the open. Adobe is one of 5 big techs trading just above or below buy points, along with Microsoft, Amazon, Google parent Alphabet, and PayPal. Microsoft is nearing a buy point as the Microsoft stock chart quickly improves, so is Amazon. Both are trying to catch up to Google stock, which nudged back into a buy zone on Thursday. With these tech titans improving and software heating up, the big cap NASDAQ 100 hit a record high Thursday. The big cap NASDAQ 100 includes Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Adobe, as well as somewhat improving Apple, Nvidia, AMD, which we've got one of those sitting in front of me, DocuSign Atlassian, ooh, I've got the hiccups, and PayPal were among the most notable NASDAQ 100 winners on Thursday. Buying stocks that are early to rise in a sector trend is important. That's them telling you that. That's not me. While techs did well, it was a rough day for a variety of reopening plays. Financials plunged as the 10-year Treasury yield wiped out Wednesday's gains from a Federal Reserve meeting. Commodity plays, including miners, fertilizers, and even oil stocks, sold off with underlying commodity prices. And we'll talk a bit about some more reverse repo that's going on because, I mean, all of this sounds like panic right now. Adobe rose 24% per share and revenue climbed 23%, both beating views, though growth slowed from the prior quarter. The digital media and marketing software firm also guided higher. Adobe climbed nearly 4% to $571 in pre-market trade. Shares rose 1.5% on Thursday to $551.36, still in range from $536.98, buy point in a consolidation going back to early September. All right, on your futures. Well, first, let's see where everything is. Adobe, Microsoft, PayPal, and Google are on IBD leaderboard and IBD long-term leaders. NVIDIA and DocuSign are also on leaderboard, while Team is a long-term leader on the futures. Dow futures fell another 0.5% versus fair value to start. S&P 500 futures lost 0.3%. NASDAQ 100 futures were about 0.1% below break even with Adobe stocks offering a slim boost. The 10-year Treasury yield fell 3 basis points to 1.48, extending Thursday's big retreat after Wednesday's spike, which means that they're trying to do the reverse repo thing again. And remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. All right, let's grab this one from CNBC, and then we will get into this mess of big news that we have going, including a pair right in a row from the Hill, which I hate to do, but, I mean, this is where we sit right now. From CNBC, U.S. stock futures fall as the Dow heads for worst week since January. From Yoon Lee and Tanaya Mashil. U.S. stock futures fell Friday as the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones Industrial are on pace to post a losing week after the Federal Reserve's latest policy update. Futures for the Dow lost 131, S&P 500 futures were lower by 0.3%, and NASDAQ 100 futures dipped 0.1%. The blue chip Dow has lost 1.9% week to date, on pace for its worst week since January. The S&P 500 has fallen 0.6%, but the NASDAQ has gained 0.65% on the week. Most commodities prices rebounded a bit on Friday following sharp declines this week as China attempts to cool rising prices and the U.S. dollar strengthens. Future prices of copper, gold, and platinum rebounded on Friday, but were still down big for the week. The Friday bounce in prices helped push some material stocks higher in early trading. Newmont gained nearly 2% in pre-market trading. Adobe gained about 3% in trading after earnings revenue topped estimates. The highly anticipated decision from the Fed Wednesday calls to sell off in equities that carried through the second day. The central bank announced it's keeping interest rates unchanged, raised its 21 inflation expectation to 3.4%, and moved planned interest rate hikes forward, mostly coming into after the midterms. But still, the investors are wary of this because, I mean, between the reverse repo and this, what do you see? Where they're looking in and say, okay, we got to cool down this inflation somehow. And what do you see with the stocks that you carry and what businesses are going to be able to do with this and what people are going to be able to buy as inflation is a tax on the poor? I wouldn't put my money in this market. I would actively be taking my money out of this market right now. But that's not official financial advice. Of course, your official financial advisor can advise you more as to what you should be doing with this money. I would do Bitcoin and Doge and Ethereum if it was me. All right. But that's what we have coming in off the trading. Before we get into the big news, remember, today is live chat day, so if you are lurking or you see somebody else lurking, tell them to get those last minute messages in so I can read from the notebook and thank you guys kindly. And we'll also go through the live chat today, so if you say something sufficiently stupid or bigoted, It will raise the intellectual level of this program, and of course, with that, it will get read on the air. And make sure, too, if you guys see some of these, because I know that with me being affiliated on Twitch, we're being advertised now. We're getting onto the front page, so people are actually wanting to come in here to go and tell me how wrong I am about how great Joe Biden is. So when they start to sing the praises of Biden and tell me how evil it is to call the Capitol Selfie Fest a Capitol Selfie Fest, engage them. Let them know what you think. It'll be entertaining. It'll be our little experiment for the live chat for the day. All right, let's get into this. Starting with the Voting Rights Act, or the Corrupt Politicians Act, as Mr. Cruz likes to call it. McConnell shoots down Manchin's voting compromise, from Jordan Carney. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, the Turtle Man, said on Thursday that Republicans will oppose a compromise election reform proposal put forward by Senator Joe Manchin. I would make this observation about the revised version. All Republicans, I think, will oppose that as well, if that were to be what surfaced on the floor, McConnell told reporters, referring to Manchin's proposal. McConnell's comments, which came during a press conference with GOP senators railing against the For the People Act, or the Corrupt Politicians Act, are the latest signal that the election bill will fail during a procedural vote next week due to a GOP filibuster. Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer has teed up the bill for a vote next week, where it will need 60 votes to advance. Schumer said the bill could be a vehicle for a deal with Manchin if it comes together. Yeah, they're still going to try and get him to wreck the fucking filibuster. Manchin has said he opposes the For the People Act as it was introduced. The version Democrats are bringing to the floor is slightly revised, giving the states and localities more time to implement the provisions. It does keep the original bill largely intact. Manchin has also said he doesn't support the revised version and instead has circulated a list to his colleagues detailing what he supports and doesn't support in the bill. Manchin outlined roughly 24 ideas that garnered his approval, including making Election Day a public holiday. Let's talk about that in just a second. Mandating at least 15 consecutive days of early voting for federal elections. Banning gerrymandering and allowing for automatic voter registration through a state's Department of Motor Vehicles. Manchin also, according to the version of the list obtained by The Hill, backs tighter campaign finance requirements currently in the For the People Act. Oh yeah, it's okay if our big business buddies do this. This would include requiring online and digital ads to disclose their funding sources in a way similar to TV and radio ads, as well as tighter ethics requirements for presidents and vice presidents and requirements that campaigns and committees report foreign contacts. So, a lot of stuff that goes on with this, and including what Manchin put in, but okay, let's start on the election day as a federal holiday thing. Now, this is interesting because the Juneteenth thing is coming up, and I mean, this will be a little bit of a teaser because we're going to talk about this in just a second, but Juneteenth is coming up. Now, think about who is advocating to have voting or election day as a national holiday. You know, people like David Hogg, who've never worked a day in their lives, or people who are working, you know, at your local Starbucks, your retailers. I get some federal holidays off now, working where I work. I get some of them off, you know, your big ones. Independence Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, those ones, but Christmas, New Year's, the big ones. But like, I still work on Martin Luther King Day. I still work on that day. Columbus Day, I still work on that day. Or Indigenous Peoples Day if you're triggered by Columbus. I still work on those holidays. But I go back to my retail days. The days where I might have agreed with some of these progressives that say we need to go out and vote to get the people that we want to do what they want, even though the people that they want aren't going to do the things that they want. But I still think back to my retail days because I worked in a grocery store. I've worked in a couple different grocery stores. I've worked in a convenience store. I've worked the retail sector. Hell, I've worked in a Home Depot briefly. You know what I didn't get off? National holidays. You know when I worked? National holidays. I mean, even despite the fact that on some of them, there was reduced hours. Christmas. Reduced, were we open on Christmas? Yeah, we were open for reduced hours on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. But I worked all those holidays. Memorial Day? Fucking forget it. Independence Day was a reduced hour holiday, but still, I worked on that day. Almost every year I worked on that day. These people who are demanding for Election Day to be a national holiday work on national holidays or have never worked a day in their life. But, I mean, regardless, this is dead on arrival from the Senate, first and foremost. And second off, if it does magically get past the Senate, and then the puppeteer comes in and makes Joe Biden's hand go like this, and, then he comes up and signs the thing with his little puppeted hand. He puts his name on the thing, which actually just says, the thing, man. This gets to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court says, full stop. Article 2, Section 1 still exists. You can't do this. And then, of course, we get a screaming match of either pack the Supreme Court or impeach the Trump appointees. One of the two, it's going to come. But regardless, yes, this McConnell has shot this down. Now, I've got Ted tweet from The Hill, quoting from Ted Cruz. Let's have a listen to what Ted's got to say about this.
And this is not about the right to vote. When you have millions of illegal aliens registered to vote, when you have felons registered to vote, when you're inviting voter fraud through striking down photo ID laws, through striking down ballot harvesting laws, what you're doing is stealing the right to vote from legal citizens. This is brazen, it's cynical, and it's worth noting that when Republicans had the White House and both houses of Congress, we didn't try this. We didn't try to rig the system so that our side could never lose an election. This is an abuse of power from the Democrats. And I got to say, at least so far, the media has not covered even a fraction of the brazen abuse that is reflected in this bill. And this is not about the right to vote.
And, I mean, there's some point to this. I love the first comment off here. Ariadna says, it was already rigged in the GOP's favor, and now your state's trying to pass a voter suppression law. That is not a voter suppression law. But I follow this person here, and she has drank the Kool-Aid full on and full out. Like, whatever MSNBC tells her, she believes. And I've seen that from the... But no, I mean, how is this rigged in the GOP's favor? When somebody like Barack Hussein Obama, one of the more radicals, I would say, in our presidential history, topped only by Woodrow Wilson himself, was able to get elected. With an overwhelming majority, too, by the way. This isn't rigged in the GOP's favor. This is actually, I would say, pretty evenly split between the two parties. It's rigged to keep third parties out, we can say that, but between the two big parties, no, this is pretty well evenly split. Just put up better people, for God's sake. All right. Let's talk about Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams, I would absolutely back Manchin's voting rights compromise. From Quint Forgy and Zach Montellaro over at Politico, Stacey Abrams on Thursday drew support behind Senator Manchin's proposed revisions to the Congressional Democrats' expansive election and ethics reform bill, conferring him the endorsement of one of the nation's premier voting rights activists. In an interview on CNN, Abrams, a former Democratic nominee for Georgia governor, no, that's not true. She is the rightful Georgia governor. I will not hear this bigotry, Politico. She is the rightful Georgia governor. Just ask her. She is the rightful governor. Said she absolutely could support the changes to the For the People Act that Manchin outlined in a memo circulating among colleagues on Wednesday. What Senator Manchin is putting forward are some basic building blocks that we need to ensure that democracy is accessible no matter your geography, Abrams said. Abrams went on to describe the tenets of Manchin's proposal as strong ones that will create a level playing field, will create standards that do not vary from state to state, and I think will ensure every American has improved access to the right to vote. An apparent boost for Manchin's compromise solution comes after he announced last week that he would not support Democrats' election reform bill, which party leaders have given symbolically significant titles, S1 in the Senate and H.R. 1 in the House in its current form. Although Manchin favors the bill's expansion of early voting and ban on partisan gerrymandering, his memo on Wednesday detailed federally mandated voter ID requirements and greater flexibility for state officials to remove voters from voter rolls. Funny. That sounds a lot like the bill that you called racist that went through Georgia. It also sounds a lot like the voter suppression that Ariadna just told us went on in Texas. It's federally mandated voter ID requirements. And Stacey Abrams can get behind this. Roughly a dozen states currently do not have required voter ID for most voters, according to a national conference of state legislatures, with a handful more allowing for a sworn statement to serve as a substitute. Manchin's proposal suggests allowable alternatives to be accepted in lieu of ID, specifically naming utility bills, but does not go into greater detail. Manchin also proposed making Election Day a public holiday, mandating 15 consecutive days of early voting, like the Georgia bill, and allowing for automatic registration through the DMV with the ability to opt out. See, that's where I draw the line with this. His proposal does not mandate no excuse absentee voting, which allows voters to vote via mail regardless of age, disability, status, or location on Election Day, something that is included in H.R. 1. So, yeah, basically this sounds a lot like what Georgia just put through, with a couple of extra provisions, but for the most part, because, suggestive of voter ID. I thought that was racist. That right there should draw Stacey Abrams as far away from this as she can get. And just to keep this forward, and this is what actually, I haven't read the memo. Keep that in mind, full disclosure, I'm not. But Eric Erickson over on Twitter says, for those keeping score at home, Joe Manchin's voting rights compromise, which Stacey Abrams now supports, embraces much of what the Georgia GOP just enacted that Stacey Abrams said was voter suppression. Slow clap. And I had to go back and comment back to that one. Says, don't you know the rules? It's only voter suppression if the enacting politician has an R next to his name. But regardless, this is dead in the fucking water. And with Article 2, Section 1, that's one of the things to keep in mind, is that all of this is explicitly designated to the states. It's not one of those things like Amendment 10, which I love, that says all of the provisions that are not listed in the articles or the amendments preceding this are delegated to the states. This is actually specifically in the article that concerns the presidency, and for the most part, most electioneering as well on the federal level. This is explicitly as you possibly can get it, outlined in the Constitution that this is supposed to be a state's issue. They mandate how they run their elections. H.R. 1 has no traction whatsoever. None. Without an amendment to the Constitution, there is nothing. But regardless, they're going to continue to fight this until the end, until they get it the way that they want it. All right, from Business Insider. Top progressives come out swinging against possible gas tax and bipartisan infrastructure plan since it would hurt lower-income Americans. From Joseph Zeballos-Roig. Some key progressives are swinging at one particular provision in the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure framework, indexing the gas tax to inflation. Indexing the gas tax is just a way to raise taxes on working people next year instead of this year, Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon said in Wednesday during a Senate Finance Committee hearing. Then Senator Bernie Sanders assailed the levy too. Gas taxes are regressive taxes, he said on Tuesday, referring to a type of tax that disproportionately falls on lower-income Americans. That's not actually a thing, by the way. It would still be a progressive tax. It would just be progressive in the other direction. The infrastructure blueprint would largely focus spending into physical elements like roads, bridges, and highways. Areas that Republicans traditionally favor. Indexing the gas tax would be one revenue source, along with repurposed coronavirus relief money and public-private partnerships. Indexing the gas tax to inflation would not only produce a major amount of revenue, however, one expert at the left-leaning Center for American Progress recently projected it would raise between $30 billion and $35 billion over the next 10 years. Still, the proposal faces an uphill climb among both Democrats and Republicans. Some Senate Democrats are already rejecting the measure as insufficient at confronting climate change. Others are reluctant to back the proposal, fearing that centrist Democrats will balk at the other social spending measures in a follow-up bill. Still, Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer says Democrats are adopting the two-pronged approach at this stage, continuing talks with Republicans while setting the stage to embark on reconciliation, a legislative maneuver that requires only 51 votes in the Senate for certain bills. He is particularly focused on slashing harmful emissions in the infrastructure bills. We need significant reductions. No, that's Schumer. We need significant reductions in emissions through clean energy, electric vehicles, as well as the funding to help manufacturers and farmers be part of the solution in fighting climate change, Schumer said early on Wednesday. And I love the fact, like, these two senators, these two Democrats who are supposed to hate the oil industry, love the fact, they hate this tax. This tax is supposed to be their godsend because it'll make people spend less money on gas and buy less gas. But they're absolutely right. It's the tax on the poor. I cannot afford a Tesla. Some of you guys can. I can't. I'm better off than I was. I'm not going to lie. But, I mean, think of the people that are sitting and are possibly going to be sitting in the position that I was 10 years ago. They're going to be sitting in that position again once this whole housing bubble pops and it takes the rest of the market with it. Think about that for just a second. The 20-somethings and even the 30-somethings, because this is going to be far-reaching and this is going to kick a lot of people in the balls, where they can't go out and get even a 2-year-old, 3-year-old vehicle. Like, how long has Tesla been on the road? 2, 3, 4 years maybe? A little bit longer than that, I think, because we were talking about that pre-Trump. So I would say maybe like 5 years we've had Tesla on the road. How many of these people, once they get kicked in the balls and kicked back down, are going to be able to go out and afford a 5-year-old, 6-year-old car? When they're sitting here trying to scrape together a couple nickels so they can buy a pack of ramen, which I have been in that position, by the way. When they're trying to get whatever cash and change they can get together so they can go get groceries for themselves, they're going to be driving a 20-year-old, probably a truck, because then they can use that to do some side work, but they'll be driving a 20-year-old vehicle with no insurance and 250,000 miles on it. The rings are going to be so worn on the piston side that the thing will get no fuel economy because you'll have so much fucking blow-by. And they're the ones that are going to have to pay the gas tax. Your rich snobs, the ones that are paying off these politicians to get this gas tax passed, they're going to go buy a Tesla. Or the new electric F-150 or whatever the hell they're going to go and buy. Or the electric Hummer or whatever the fuck. They're not going to pay the gas tax, and even if it is, gas tax, Snidely, please make sure that you pay the extra, you pay for the good gasoline. They're not going to blink about this, whereas raising the gas prices, that's going to affect the people who are most hurt by the economic crash that's coming. So, good on Bernie. Absolutely good on Bernie. I can't believe I just said that. But it happens every once in a while. Here's one from The Plant, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene looks to abolish ATF, decries war on gun owners. Why don't I have the tweet that went with this? Let's find out. Did I not put it in? Is it in the Discord? I thought I had the video up that one, because there's a video that goes with this one. Why the fuck don't I have it? Oh, I don't know why I don't have it, but I don't. Regardless, let's just keep going here. From Newsweek, Marjorie Taylor Greene looks to abolish ATF, decries war on gun owners. Yeah, don't get me started on cash for clunkers. From Jenny Fink, with 35 tabs up here, I don't have time to go into cash for clunkers. Because there are a lot of problems. Save that for an ed talk, because we will talk cash for clunkers. If you want to do across the board on that too, or other government programs, get some people together. We'll talk about cash for clunkers, because I have 1.5 million things to say about that. Georgia Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, the plant, is looking to get rid of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms in an effort to protect gun owners from a tyrannical, power-hungry group of bureaucrats. Greene, plant, introduced legislation on Thursday that would abolish the ATF and repeal regulations and guidance issued after August 2020. The legislation comes as Republicans push back on Dave Chipman, President Biden's nominee to head the ATF, who they see as a threat to the right to own firearms. The legislation, as reported by the Daily Caller, would abolish the ATF 6 months after the bill is enacted. It would also require President Joe Biden to inform every employee of the ATF in writing of the abolishment date. Along with making the ATF a defunct agency, Greene's legislation would set up an auction for the firearms and ammunition the ATF confiscated. Greene's looking to use the proceeds of the auction to create a fund for families of Border Protection officers killed in the line of duty after December 1st of 2009, according to the Daily Caller. After providing grants of up to $150,000 per family affected, remaining funds would go to states who establish firearm safety programs. I like a lot of things in this bill, but it has no traction and it has no teeth. It's another effort for Marjorie Taylor Greene to make a headline on a bill that's not going to go anywhere. Keep that in mind as we go into this. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a plant to get headlines. She is not a serious GOP politician. If she was a serious GOP politician, then we would have known about the picture with her holding the AR-15 and saying, "The squad's worst nightmare," in front of the picture of the squad. We would have known about that long before she introduced the articles of impeachment against Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Now, under a GOP-controlled House and Senate, could this come back up? I'd like it. I don't have any faith in it, because they do like their federal control just the same as everything. But this is a go-nowhere thing to get another headline and cover up another news story. All right. From Market Watch, speaking of inflation, Fed sees record $756 billion demand for a reverse repo program, and it may hit $1 trillion. From Joy Wiltermuth, banks and money market funds using the Federal Reserve's overnight reverse repo program parked a record $755.8 billion in cash with the central bank on Thursday, a day after policymakers tweaked the facility's payout. High demand for the facility since April underscores how awash financial markets have become with cash during the pandemic. Trillions worth of fiscal and monetary stimulus sloshed through the economy. Oh, the camera's going to act up on the Instagram side again. With interest rates low globally, banks and money markets investors have been eager to avoid negative yields that have been parked in cash in the Fed facility, which as of Thursday pays 0.5% instead of 0%. It isn't a lot, but it's better than zero, said Jim Vogel, interest rate strategist at FHN Financial, about the Fed's bump in its reverse repo rate. Well, it might go negative at some point too, which means it's going to cost these banks money to get rid of their money so they don't see inflation going. When the Fed opened up this new avenue, $250 billion of fresh demand came in overnight, Vogel said. The Fed's decision on Wednesday to boost the rate it pays on excessive reserves and on the overnight reverse repo facility comes as part of a broader strategy to keep a grip on short-term rates while helping to stoke the U.S. economic recovery by stopping the inflation. Fed Chief Jerome Powell on Wednesday also reiterated that it was still too early for the central bank to raise short-term rates above its current 0 to 0.25% target range or trim its near $120 billion a month bond buying program. Oh, it'll get higher when they get more desperate. But in a surprise for markets, Powell said the Fed now has penciled in 2 potential interest rate increases in 2023, while stressing that central bank officials were attuned to the risk of inflation rising faster than expected. This is panic mode. This is panic mode right here. Doing whatever they can to try and get the banks to go park their money in the Federal Reserve where they can make it go and get out of circulation and hold the money supply down. Manipulating the currency. You know what Ben Shapiro accused China of doing all last year? But, you know, if it slows down the inflation a little bit, at least it'll do something. I don't agree with it. I think the free market should be deciding this, but, at least it's going to do something somewhere. So, we'll see what happens with this. Let's grab one from CNN. New national holiday sets off scramble to shut down governments nationwide on Friday. All right, we're going to spend a little bit of time with this one. From Paul LeBlanc. States across the country are scrambling to close their government offices Friday after President Biden signed legislation establishing Juneteenth as a U.S. federal holiday. While July 19th, which commemorates the end of slavery in the U.S., falls on a Saturday this year, governors across the country announced in quick succession a range of plans for their state offices on Friday, the closest workday to the new holiday. Many states like Maryland, Nebraska, Missouri, West Virginia, and Alabama will give most public employees the day off, but government workers in other states like California will have to wait to feel the effect of the new law. Ooh, California's racist. They won't celebrate Juneteenth. It's encouraging to see bipartisan efforts to recognize the importance of Juneteenth. A spokesperson for California Governor Gavin Newsom's office said in a statement, the governor issues a proclamation each year to celebrate this important day, starting last year. At the state level, establishing a holiday usually requires legislation and collective bargaining. Similarly, in Washington, D.C., many district employees will continue serving to maintain essential district operations. According to a news release from Mayor Muriel Bowser's office, this includes walk-up vaccination sites, DMV, and Department of Parks and Recreation. And while the district schools will be closed, high school graduation ceremonies will commence. The patchwork of responses underscores the rarity of a new federal holiday. Juneteenth is the first one established since MLK in 1983 and becomes at least the 11th federal holiday recognized by the U.S. federal government. So, I got some things to say about this. Now, I like the idea. I'm actually a little bit bummed that I didn't know what this was until last year. Hot take, I know. But that's part of the reason I have a problem with this being pushed up so quickly to do so. Is that the vast majority of people in this country, outside of Texas, and I think even in Texas it was still a minority of people, even knew what this holiday was. I had never heard the word Juneteenth until former President Trump decided to hold a rally on that day in Tulsa, the site of Black Wall Street, obviously. And, of course, given the fact that this got pushed through so quickly, what are the MAGA people going to do? Especially considering the fact that their Messiah got snubbed from his rally the year before. Just 1 year before, their Messiah got snubbed from their rally. This, in execution, feels like a way to other people. Just to get people pissed off on social media, start the argument back up. So they argue back and forth as to whether or not this is a real holiday or whether they should get another federal holiday. And then they come back and say, look, evil racist, you don't want to celebrate Juneteenth. You must love slavery. That's the problem I have with this. Like, it's a great thing. I wish we'd have celebrated Emancipation Proclamation Day, for that matter. Or celebrated that a little bit more. So, something feels off about the fact that this is coming up like this. And, of course, we're going to have the big businesses. And that's the other thing with this. It's going to be like the gay icon. The rainbow icon on every fucking thing you could imagine. Another way to come out and say, see, we're the good capitalists and you should come spend money with us and we support your cause. And we're going to close on Juneteenth because solidarity, brother. Come spend money with us, please. It's going to be another money-making operation. That's all it's going to be. And another way to other businesses, just like in 1984, you other the people you don't like. You other the businesses. Don't go spend money with them. They stayed open on Juneteenth. So, Sully says, what's your Instagram? That is JEdgar102, by the way. But, regardless, that's what we're seeing out of this. And I love the idea. I love the celebration, because freedom should be free. Freedom should always be free, but this feels off. Just the implementation, this quick, feels off. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what kind of riots break out for this. I'm sure there's going to be at least one of those. All right, I got to pause this my camera for just a second. So, give me just a sec. We'll throw some music back up here. And I will be right back with you. Sorry, it rained, so the pollen is all back up in the air. And, yeah. I didn't think anybody in the audience wanted to listen to me and watch me blow my nose. Let's grab one from NPR. 14 House Republicans voted against making Juneteenth a federal holiday, because this is the news, by the way. And this was front page headline news in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel yesterday. Not, how cool is it that we had a unanimous Senate vote for Juneteenth? Not, hey, freedom is free. Hey, freedom is this, freedom is that. The big news was, here are the 14 evil Republican House members that voted against this. All right, let's grab the live chat back up here. You know what? I almost forgot. We were supposed to do this in NPR voice. But this is from Barbara Sprunt, and do make sure that you do get them your money, because it's not your money, it's our money, comrade, and they need our money to function. National Progressive Radio, spreading communist ideals. Let's give them our money. The House of Representatives overwhelmingly passed legislation on Wednesday to establish Juneteenth, National Independence Day, a federal holiday to commemorate the end of chattel slavery in the U.S. The bill recognizes June 19, 1865 as the day when Major General Gordon Granger led soldiers to Galveston, Texas to deliver the message that the Union had won the war and the ending of slavery would be enforced. While the Senate voted unanimously in favor of the House, 14 House members, all Republicans, voted against the bill, many citing concerns over the name of the holiday and whether it conflates with the July 4th holiday. And, of course, what are they going to do? Hey, go dox these people right away. Mo Brooks, Mike Rogers, Andy Biggs, Paul Gosar, Tom McClintock, Doug Malfa, Andrew Clyde, Thomas Massey, Matt Rosendale, Ralph Norman, Scott Desjarlis, Ronnie Jackson, Chip Roy, and Tom Tiffany. A lot of Trump people. I wonder why. You notice that too? A lot of Trump people in this list. I fully support creating a day to celebrate the abolition of slavery, a dark portion of our nation's history, Massey said on the House floor Wednesday. However, naming this day National Independence Day will create confusion and push Americans to pick one of those 2 days as their Independence Day based on their racial identity. Yeah, that could happen too. I could see that. He added, why can't we name this Emancipation Day and come together as Americans and celebrate the day together as Americans, black and white, all colors, all races, all ethnicities, and then come together on Independence Day, which celebrates the creation of our country, throwing off an oppressive government. And then 240 years later, welcoming in another oppressive government. Representative Brenda Lawrence of Michigan reacted to the argument on the floor, saying, "I want to say to my white colleagues on the other side, getting your independence from being enslaved in a country is different from getting independence to rule themselves." Roy argued the legislation should have gone through a House committee and that there should have been a larger debate over the naming of the holiday. "I believe it's often referred to in our history as Jubilee Day, as Emancipation Day, as Freedom Day. I would be amenable to any of those names," Roy said on the floor Wednesday. "I don't believe that the title National Independence Day works, and I would prefer that we just have a debate on that." Norman posted a thread on Twitter critiquing the name of the holiday. He also wrote that he's concerned the federal holiday will cost the federal government over $1 billion. Yeah, that's true too. Our Independence Day is July 4th, period. Independence Day celebrates the anniversary of our declared independence from Great Britain, and it's been that way for 245 years, Norman wrote. "If you want to call it Juneteenth, for example, Freedom Day or Emancipation Day, that's fine. That's certainly worth considering, but calling it Independence Day is wholly inappropriate." So, I mean, and there's that too, and that's part of the reason that NPR is putting this article out, to other the people that don't belong with them, that they don't like. Because they're evil. And they were Trump people. And that's one of the reasons that I did have a problem with it. It is not the idea, it's the execution. It is the execution, the way this is going to be used coming forward. Yes, I could see a segregated Independence Day celebration. Although I'm sure that people are going to want to have both days off no matter what. But still, I could see a segregated Independence Day celebration. Absolutely. Another way to segregate people. And yeah, this could cost a lot of money as well. But it's here. It's done. There's no way to go back on it. And I mean, really honestly, I know the federal governments are gonna agencies are gonna have to shut down on Friday to give them the extra holiday. But I mean, even as I think before this got through the House, while this was going through the House, I got an email from my bank, whose name I will not provide, because I like them for most situations other than the fact that they do some of this woke bullshit. But even before this went through the House, I got the email saying, "We will be closed on Saturday in celebration and observation of Juneteenth." Cool, you're only open till noon on Saturday anyway. That's useless to me. I understand there are other people that's useful for, but that's fucking useless to me. I don't care. Regardless, that's what they have to do, is tell you who were the evil Republicans that voted against the Juneteenth holiday. Just like I said, this was going to get used for to other everyone else. All right, let's grab one from Politico. House repeals 2002 Iraq War authorization. Do you want some good news? Because here's some good news for you. From Andrew Desiderio and Connor O'Brien. The House voted to repeal the 2002 authorization to use military force in Iraq on Thursday, a rare and historic effort by lawmakers to rein in the presidential war powers. Yeah, that's probably a good idea right now. Thursday's vote brings the U.S. one step closer to ending the so-called forever wars in the Middle East. Spoiler alert, no it doesn't. That have defined the post-9/11 presidential administrations. And the ones that came before 9/11. And while the Iraq War ended nearly a decade ago, lawmakers saw an opportunity with Democrat control of Congress to reassert their Article 1 authority to declare and authorize foreign wars and military operations. Bullshit. Bullshit. You know why? You had Democratic control of Congress under the Bush administration and under Obama. You're doing this now because your commander-in-chief, so-called, is a senile old fucking coot, and the woman waiting in the wings for him, even though she's one of you, is also fucking psychotic and could probably go out and start a war just to say she's one of the fucking big boys. Bullshit. Rare opportunity to rein in the fucking powers. Fuck you. Fuck you. The 268 to 161 vote was bipartisan, drawing support from 49 Republicans and all but one Democrat. It was also a victory for Representative Barbara Lee, who has pushed for the repeal for several years, while presidents from both parties have undermined Congress's role. Speaking on the House floor of the repeal vote, Lee said, "The nearly 20-year-old war authorization bears no correlation to the threats we face today." Speaking on the House floor ahead of the repeal vote, Lee said that the nearly 20-year-old war authorization bears no correlation to the threats. Why did I read that twice? Repeal can prevent our country from entering another protracted engagement under this outdated authority. We can't afford to leave this in place indefinitely, Lee said. This is our opportunity to restore our constitutional role, and then we will be the ones that make the war and get paid by fucking Raytheon. Earlier this week, Senate Majority Leader Charles U. Schumer announced his support for repealing the 2002 authorization and said it would get a vote on the Senate floor sometime this year. President Biden also backs the effort because he's being told to. But remember, President Biden has never seen a war authorization that he doesn't like. A complementary bill is making its way through the Senate beginning next week with Foreign Relations Committee markup, but the upper chamber's version, crafted by Tim Kaine, Todd Young, also repeals the 1991 authorization, which Congress passed in the run-up to the first Gulf War, in addition to scrapping the 2002 measure. Huzzahs are in order! Though both authorizations are seen as outdated, the Gulf War resolution has been left on the books unused since the brief conflict and is less controversial than repealing the 2002 authorization. Scrubbing both measures, in addition to even older military force laws, is seen by advocates as a key step in Congress beginning to reclaim its war prerogatives. Good! Good, do it. Do it! No, seriously, do it. Get that power out of a place where another fucking Bush could get his hands on it, or another war-loving fucking neoliberal like Kamala Harris, who's probably eyeing up a good way for her to send prisoners out to go and do her work for her. Oh, hey, yeah, we can send these people out here and they can go fight for us, and then we don't have to worry about them in prisons no more. But yeah, there's some good news for you. We don't get a lot of good news on this program, but there's some good news for you. All right. From Reuters, U.S. Supreme Court backs Catholic group that shun gay foster parents. We'll do some Supreme Court news. From Andrew Chung and Lawrence Hurley. The U.S. Supreme Court embraced religious rights over LGBT rights on Thursday by ruling in favor of Catholic Church-affiliated agency that sued after Philadelphia refused to place children for foster care with the organization because it barred same-sex couples from applying to become foster parents. And that's all we get, because I didn't archive this one like I should have. That's what I have to say to you, Reuters. So, we'll make a note of this one, and we will save this one for Monday. It'll be archived by that point. All right, let's grab another one. On-air production. This is a professional show, you guys. I promise. Now, we make fun of the professional shows. From the Associated Press, that isn't going to cut me off for free article limits. Obamacare survives. Supreme Court dismisses big challenge, from Mark Sherman. The Supreme Court, though increasingly conservative in makeup, rejected the latest major Republican-led effort to kill the national health. I just thought of something. Hold that thought for just a second. I just thought of something. If this goes through before September 11th, does this mean that Congress is now in control of the Afghanistan drawdown? Because that scares me. We're going to have to watch this one. I just realized something horrible. Because Congress is also filled with warmongering and war-loving neoliberals and neoconservatives that are getting paid a lot of money to stay in Afghanistan. Let's do some thinky here. All right. Anyway, Let's talk about Obamacare, or the ACA, because it's not really Obamacare. The Supreme Court, though increasingly conservative in makeup, rejected the latest major Republican effort to kill the national health care law known as the Affordable Care Act. I will not use that term. On Thursday, preserving insurance coverage for millions of Americans. The justices, by a 7-2 vote, left the ACA intact by ruling that Texas, other GOP-led states, and 2 individuals had no right to bring the lawsuit in federal court. The Biden admin says 31 million people have health insurance because of the law, which also survived 2 earlier challenges in the Supreme Court. And how many people don't have insurance because of the law? Because they can't afford it, because the deductible at work is $5,000 fucking dollars, or in better news, an eighth of their yearly pay. Or more. The law's major provisions include protections for people with existing health conditions, a range of no-cost preventative services, expansion of Medicaid programs that ensures lower-income people, and access to health insurance market offering subsidized plans. Subsidized by people having a $5,000 deductible with a plan that they bought themselves. The Affordable Care Act is the law of the land, President Biden said, celebrating the ruling. He called for building further in the law and enacted in 2010 when he was vice president. Also left in place is the law's now toothless requirement that people have health insurance or pay a penalty. Congress rendered that provision irrelevant in 2017 when it reduced the penalty to 0. The elimination of the penalty had become the hook that Texas and other GOP-led states, as well as the Trump admin, had used to attack the entire law. They argued that without the mandate, the pillar of the law, when it was passed, the rest of the law should fall too. Well, give it time to spiral back out of control, and then it will fall. And with a Supreme Court that includes 3 appointees of former President Trump, opponents of the ACA hoped a majority of justices would finally kill the law they have been fighting for more than a decade. But a third major attack on the law, the Supreme Court ended the way the first 2 did, with a majority of the court rebuffing the efforts to gut the law or get rid of it altogether. Trump's appointees, Barrett, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh, split their votes. Kavanaugh and Barrett joined the majority. Gorsuch was in dissent, signing on to an opinion from Justice Samuel Alito. So, apparently they didn't even want to hear this. They threw it out because it didn't have standing. So, there's where we sit. It's going to continue to go. All right, from the Hill. Biden approval rating slips from April. Poll from Carolyn Vakil. I almost did the Daily Wire version of this one because they were talking about the cognitive decline and the forgetfulness, but that leads a little bit into the next article we're going to read here. President Biden's approval rating has dipped 6 points since April, according to a new poll, as Congress weighs his sprawling spending plans. And his forgetfulness and the fact that he just snapped at a fucking reporter. Biden drew positive marks from 48% of Americans in a Monmouth University poll published Wednesday, down from 54% who approved of the job he was doing in April. The president's approval rating has dropped among Democrats in the past few months as negotiations drag on over an infrastructure package, while it has increased among Republicans. The latest survey found that 86% of Democrats approve of the job Biden is doing, down 9 points from April. Support among independents is also down from 47% to 36%. Meanwhile, support among Republicans jumped 8 points from 11% to 19%. Biden's rating is still in net positive territory, but it seems to have taken a dip with the growing uncertainty that his signature spending plans will be enacted, Patrick Murray, director of the independent Monmouth University Polling Institute, said in a statement. The survey found broad support for Biden's proposed spending plans. According to a poll, 60% of Americans say they supported the COVID-19 stimulus relief passed during his term, while 68% supported his infrastructure package proposal. Additionally, 61% said they supported Biden's proposal to expand health care and child care while providing paid leave and college tuition support. Still, the poll found that a whopping 71% of respondents are concerned that Biden's spending proposals could result in inflation. Have resulted in inflation. Not could, have. That includes 47% of Americans who said they're very concerned that spending for these plans could lead to higher prices for goods and services, and 24% who said they were somewhat concerned. 17% of respondents said that they were not too concerned, while 11% said they weren't concerned at all. And there it is. I mean, You can't push pull your way into the most popular president in history forever. They tried. They gave an honorable, honest effort, but you can't just push pull that direction for a long time. People are starting to see through the bullshit. I have to wonder what the actual aggregate is. Let's go look. Let's see what Real Clear Politics has to say on the aggregate. Polls. Let's have a look, shall we? I don't know where we were. All right, 49, 53, 53, 50. Right direction, wrong direction. Biden job approval. There's what we want. RCP average. Approve is 52.6%. Disapprove is 43.4%. Which means this is actually slightly higher than what we got up off what they were saying here. So once again, they're push polling. They're cherry picking one, which surprisingly from the Hill, they're trying to cherry pick one that's negative to Biden. But yeah, on the aggregate, he's still at 52.6%. But that's only because the last Hill Harris X poll at June 7th to June 9th is holding him up way up at 61% approval. So interesting to see. Interesting to see where that goes. All right. Let's talk about this one here from the New York Post. GOP lawmakers, led by ex-White House doc, asked Biden to take cognitive tests from Samuel Chamberlain. More than a dozen Republican House members, led by former White House doctor Ronnie Jackson, asked President Biden Thursday to undergo a cognitive test and release results so the American people know the full mental and intellectual health of their president. He's going to get 25th. By the end of this year, if they keep pushing down this road, he's going to get 25th. The American people should have absolute confidence in their president, reads the letter to Biden in part. They deserve to know that he or she can perform the duties of head of state and commander-in-chief. They deserve full transparency on the mental capabilities of their highest elected leader. After this most recent embarrassing performance overseas, I thought it was time to come out with the letter, Jackson of Texas told Fox News' Hannity Thursday night. We can't sit any longer. The letter, which is copied to the chief White House medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, hallowed be his name, and current White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, claims that Biden's mental decline and forgetfulness have become apparent over the past 18 months. Examples Jackson cites of Biden's mental decline and forgetfulness include an incident from March when the president appeared to forget the name of Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin. I want to thank the former general. I keep calling him general, but the guy who runs the outfit over there. Biden said March 8th while announcing the nomination of 2 female generals to lead the U.S. military combatant commands. The letter also cites remarks Biden gave in Texas this past February when he visited the state following a deadly winter storm. According to Jackson, Biden misidentified the time of day and Senator John Cornyn's title. You mispronounced Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee's first name and Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher's maiden name of panel. Then, apparently forgetting the purpose of your visit, you question, "What am I doing here?" That was fucking hilarious. Here's my counter to you, Representative Jackson. We don't have him take the cognitive test. We just let him keep making these major gaffes, and we let Congress continue to panic over the powers that have been issued to the presidency and continue to strip them the fuck away. I like that idea better. And then we do something better in 4 years and hope and pray that he runs for re-election. And hope and pray, because I want to see him get curb stomped after they take all his powers away. That's the first thing I want to do, is see Congress take all his powers away and then see the old fucking coot get curb stomped. Hopefully by Adam Kokesh, but I've got little faith that that's going to happen. All right, but that's what we see going on from that. From Fox, I got a pair from Fox, but one is news and one is business. U.S. Appeals Court rules North Carolina's 20-week abortion ban is unconstitutional. From Tyler Olson. A unanimous 3-judge panel in the federal appeals court upheld a lower court ruling that North Carolina's ban on abortion after 20 weeks is unconstitutional. A blow to abortion opponents in one of the many such cases currently percolating through federal courts. Several pro-life organizations and more than a dozen Republican states that support North Carolina in the effort. The ruling may be appealed by North Carolina to the Supreme Court. It will. Let's back up on this. It will get appealed to the Supreme Court, rather, because that's the point of its inception. It was never meant to ban abortion. It was meant to get a case to the Supreme Court to overturn Roe. The ruling may be appealed by North Carolina to the Supreme Court, which has already agreed to take on one major abortion case out of Mississippi in its next term. That one is on a 15-week abortion ban. The lower court in North Carolina case ruled that the 20-week threshold would make some pre-viability abortions illegal, which should be in violation of the landmark Supreme Court case Planned Parenthood versus Casey, it said. It's not unconstitutional, it's against the decision by the court. There is a difference between the two. Because there is nothing in the Constitution that says that abortion has to be illegal forever. It is a court decision, not a constitutional one. And you would do well to get that right. Because that's not what this is. There was no right to abortion enshrined anywhere in the Constitution. In fact, that was one of the things that should have been on the 10th Amendment. It should have been a states' right decision. That's what the 10th Amendment is for. But regardless, this is going to the Supreme Court, and we're going to get to watch it. And everyone's going to scream and cry, and they're going to put effigies of a deceased Amy Coney Barrett and a guillotine Judge Kavanaugh, and we're going to hear that fucking argument again about the beer and the girl in 1982. I got a childhood stutter, man. We're going to hear that again forever. So you wait and see. That's coming. Let's grab another one here from Fox Business. IRS rejects tax-exempt status for Christian group over ties to the Republican Party. Christian Engage describes itself as educational, Christian, and nonpartisan, from Megan Henney. The IRS recently rejected the tax-exempt status request for a Texas-based Christian group over its purported ties to the Republican Party. In a May letter addressed to Christians Engaged, Stephen Martin, the IRS director of exempt organizations, said the group used Bible teachings typically affiliated with the Republican Party. Oh my fucking God. And candidates to educate individuals on how to vote. By teaching members about the issues such as the sanctity of life, the definition of marriage, biblical justice, laws and lawlessness, freedom of speech, religious liberty, government and business ethics, human trafficking, fiscal responsibility in government budgeting, defense, borders, and immigration, U.S. and Israel relations, Martin said the group had engaged in prohibited campaign intervention. While you educate voters on what the Bible says about issues, your educational activities are not neutral, he wrote. The topics typically are affiliated with distinct candidates and specific political party platforms. There it is, right there. Your IRS is going to start going after religious organizations. And what comes next after this? Your local church that's actually established as a church? Well, they teach the sanctity of life. They teach abortion is wrong. They're affiliated with the Republican Party. Tax-exempt status gone. Pay your taxes. Pay your back taxes. Another attack on religion. Right there. This sets a precedent. And now we also have the Biden admin trying to put up, and Warren herself as well, trying to put up more money for agents for the IRS to go after more of these groups. This is going to end well. We'll see what happens with that. I've got one from the Associated Press. St. Louis gun-waving couple pleads guilty to misdemeanors. I have questions. From Jim Salter. A St. Louis couple who gained notoriety for pointing guns at social justice demonstrations pleaded guilty Thursday to misdemeanor charges, but the man left the courthouse, defiantly pledging to do it again if faced with the same circumstances. Patricia McCloskey pleaded guilty to misdemeanor harassment and was fined $2,000. Her husband, Mark, pleaded guilty to misdemeanor fourth-degree assault and was fined $750. They also agreed to give up the weapons they used during the confrontation. When several hundred demonstrators marched past their home in June of 2020, the couple waved weapons at them. They claimed the protesters were trespassing and that they feared for their safety. The McCloskeys, both lawyers in the 60s, wore blue blazers and spoke calmly in answering questions from Judge David Mason during Thursday's hearing. Mason asked Mark McCloskey if he acknowledged that his actions put people at risk of personal injury. He said, "I sure did, Your Honor." Well, yeah. I mean, if somebody breaks into my house or comes across my lawn or goes onto private property that I own, or lease for that matter, I'm going to commit actions that have the possibility to result in physical harm as well. That's the point of defending myself, my neighborhood, and my property, is that the actions may result in physical harm. It's to prevent physical harm from coming to the people that I care about. Mark, who announced on May that he's running for U.S. Senate seat in Missouri, was unapologetic after the hearing. "I'd do it again," he said from the courthouse steps in downtown St. Louis. "Anytime the mob approaches me, I'll do what I can to put them in imminent threat of physical injury because that's what's kept them from destroying my house and my family." The McCloskey's defense lawyer, Joel Schwartz, said after the hearing the couple had hoped to raise money by donating Mark's rifle to charity, but acknowledged that it was an unusual request. Because the charges are misdemeanors, the McCloskeys do not face the possibility of losing their law licenses and can continue to own firearms, which that in and of itself is why I have questions. Now, it's really hard for them to come out and plead not guilty because they're coming out and admitting the fact that they did it. It's all on video. And they seem to be proud of what they did, but to have it pled down to a misdemeanor, the surrendering of the weapons, that's what I have questions about. I have a lot of questions about why they surrendered the weapons, because there should be no reason for them to do so. Why would you surrender these weapons? Now, yeah, you're going to have to go out and buy 2 new guns, which that confuses me as well, because usually if you're required to surrender some weapons, you're required to surrender all weapons. And it never comes on a misdemeanor charge. So I'm confused by this, very confused. I have no idea what's going on with this, what this means, and what this is going forward, except for the fact that they paid a fine and now they have to go buy new guns. I had no idea. All right. Some more violence that we see coming in cities. This one coming back again from Milwaukee. Based on everything we saw from Milwaukee and Chicago yesterday, council members urge Hyundai and Kia to build a better anti-theft system. From Carolyn Reinwald out of WISN 12 out of Milwaukee.
That's right.
Shut up, you. 2 Milwaukee Common Council members are urging automakers Kia and Hyundai to build vehicles with better anti-theft systems after the city has seen an increase in the number of those models stolen. Okay. See, in the neighborhoods that they're robbing, they're going after what they can get. And that's a part of the problem, is you get a cheap car, and a lot of the Kias and Hyundais that they're referring to are cheap cars. I think my ex, brand new, bought her Elantra for like 11 grand. Now, mind you, that was back in 2011, but still. No, 2010, wasn't it? Yeah, it was 2010. Yeah, she bought her Elantra for like 11 grand. They're cheap cars. What do you expect? But remember the beginning of Gone in 60 Seconds, the remake, not the original one, the remake that came out in, was it 99 that it came out, or 2000? One of the two. And in that remake, what did the detective say in the beginning of this when they saw the high-end cars? No signs of damage to locking mechanisms or ignition sequences. As you can see, these are not Honda Civics. When you get an economy car, they don't have a lot of security system on there because you're trying to keep the cost down. But here's a thought. If you don't want cars stolen, then don't put people in the position where they're going to go out and steal cars. And if you're going to have the anti-theft laws on the book, then enforce them. That is taking people's stuff. Those are the laws I'm okay with you enforcing. Like all the little drug laws and speeding tickets and shit like that, I don't want you enforcing that. But don't hurt people and don't take their stuff? Yes, enforce that. Instead of telling the automakers to make a better security system. Dude, that city is so fucking cucked. There's the letter right there. We're not going to go over it. Kia and Hyundai are directly responsible, in my view, for the drain on police and other city resources that have been sadly directed to deal with a rash of vehicle thefts and the havoc of those thefts have brought to our city. Alderman Khalif Rainey said, "Oh my God, you're actually blaming the automaker for the fact that you have a spike in car theft. Really? Is this real life? Is this just fantasy? Are we caught in a landslide somewhere with no escape from reality?" I mean, seriously. Open your eyes. Look up at the sky and see. It's time for these companies to fix the problem they created. The letter said, to date in 2021, the number of thefts has increased 181% over the same period. Defund the police! In 2020, this spike began in November of 2020 and was almost immediately associated by police officials with automobiles manufactured by your company and one other. Probably Honda or Toyota, because the Camry is one of the most stolen cars in the country. Vehicles manufactured by your two companies have accounted for 66% of those stolen in 2021, a number wildly out of proportion with their presence in this city. I'd like to see the statistics on that because I've driven through Milwaukee and there are a lot of Hyundais, there are a lot of Korean cars in that city. Social media and video exposing car thieves or those who hunt them make what our city is going through seem unreal. A Kia and a Hyundai owner have been under siege. And too many of our neighborhoods, streets, and sidewalks have been filled with the reckless behavior of those driving these stolen vehicles, Alderwoman Malil Coggs said in a news release. A 16-year-old was killed Tuesday night in a crash involving a stolen Kia Sportage. Milwaukee police said the rate of thefts this year is actually worse than the Common Council members wrote. According to MPD, 4,305 vehicles have been stolen this year and said it's a 189% increase from this time last year. It's a fact Hyundai and Kia owners knew all too well on Wednesday. I have no words for this. Well, I have words for this because I've said them already, but I have no new words for this. You can't enforce the laws where people are actually victimizing other people. Not speeding, not smoking a joint, but actually taking people's stuff, and you want the auto manufacturers to do it for you. Fuck you. Oh. The decay of society, people. Right there in front of us. Let's talk about Andrew Yang. For my New York friends. The cash relief program will directly benefit undocumented New Yorkers who have been cut out of social services. My plan to give $1 billion to 500,000 New Yorkers a year is for everyone, regardless of immigration status or life experience. Let's hear what Mr. Yang has to say.
Priority number one is to try and get our economy revved up again, get some of the 66 million tourists back who supported 300,000 of the 500,000 missing jobs, many of which would be filled by undocumented immigrants. But we need to do more. I proposed $1 billion in cash relief to everyone in extreme poverty, which would overlap very heavily with the undocumented community. I proposed a People's Bank that would channel hundreds of millions of dollars into minority and black and brown owned businesses in many of these communities directly because the corporate giants are not going to be investing in that way. And we need to get them connected to basic financial services because right now they're getting exploited by check cashing fees, money lending fees, remittance fees. We can get them bank accounts. And ID NYC, and a lot of them don't trust it. A lot of them are like, oh, if I show up, I'm going to run into issues. If we get them basic financial services, we can keep more of their money in their pockets. It should not be so expensive to be poor.
Thank you, Mr. Yang.
Priority number one is to try and get our...
So he's going to give away direct cash to everyone. He's going to run the exact same thing he tried to run on president for. Fanning, if you're still in the chat, how does this dude fare? I know I'll read it at the end of the show because it's. I mean, there's the 10-second delay, and then you've still got to text it back out because I think you're watching on your phone. But how does this dude fare with his UBI thing? Seriously and honestly, knowing the neighborhoods like you do. All right, from Bloomberg, Ron Helton's favorite publication, from his favorite politician, Andrew Yang hopes to write his free money plan to New York City's City Hall. From Claire Sudath, when Andy Yang said he was running for mayor of New York in January, people weren't thrilled. This spring, he'd do something like deliver a speech outside Brooklyn Catering Company, and a passing jogger would see him stop and jog in place for a half an hour just to listen to him talk. He'd be outside a food hall in Hell's Kitchen when a young woman would approach him and her voice shaking with nervousness would ask him to sign the back of a cell phone case. On a subway platform, a teenage girl squealed when she saw him, then apologized for being too young to vote. Andrew Yang is pretty sick. Alex Ars, 20, a student at New York University, told me in April Ars and a friend had happened upon Yang as he stood outside a boarded-up restaurant in Manhattan's East Village and called for a full reopening of New York's bars. "We need common sense regulations," Yang was saying. I don't know about you, but I miss sitting next to people in bars. At the time, less than a third of the city had been fully vaccinated. I asked Ars why he liked him. "I don't know, he's just a cool guy," he said. "What about his policies? Anything that he stood for?" Ars thought for a minute. "The universal income thing," he finally offered. "That's pretty great. Free stuff. Buy my vote." And that's where it's going to come from. The politicians, they're going to continue. I mean, they're running out of stuff, and people are starting to see through their bullshit for their campaign promises. Jobs, free healthcare, this thing. So they have to go to the next free stuff, which is cash payments, direct cash payments. I don't know. I don't know how this guy, what this guy has. I don't know what he's got for a shot. I really don't. All right, let's see. We've got one from the Associated Press once again. Prosecutors seek very substantial prison time for Avenatti. You know, the guy who's going to take down the Donald, Avenatti, from Larry Newminster. Prosecutors urged a judge Wednesday to impose a very substantial prison sentence on Michael Avenatti for trying to extort millions of dollars from Nike. Prosecutors noted in a Manhattan federal court submission that probation office officials recommended an 8-year prison term for the California attorney who gained fame 3 years ago through his representation of porn star Stormy Daniels against then-President Trump. The defendant, a prominent attorney and media personality with a large public following, betrayed his client and sought to enrich himself by weaponizing his public profile in an attempt to extort a publicly traded company out of tens of millions of dollars. This was an egregious abuse of trust and warrants real and serious punishment, prosecutors wrote. Good. Bye-bye. Get rid of that fucker. That's all I have to say on that one. I mean, we all know what happened. He went out with the extortion racket. After Stormy Daniels, he got famous and tried to get millions of dollars back out of a shoe company. Bye-bye. We're going to run out of time again tonight, guys. Let's see what else we can get through, because we got a few more. I want to get through a couple more of these before we get out of here. Abbott launches Texas border wall project with $250 million down payment. From Adam Shaw. Greg Abbott on Wednesday formally announced that Texas will build its own border wall as he accused the Biden admin of abandoning its responsibility to protect the southern U.S. border. "Today we are announcing that Texas will build a border wall in our state and help secure our border," Abbott said at a press conference. Abbott also announced a $250 million down payment to begin the project, allowing the state to hire a project manager and get the task underway. He said that it would be built on a combination of state land and donations of private land and be partly funded by donations. "My belief, based on conversations that I've already had, is a combination of state land as well as volunteer land will yield hundreds of miles to build a wall in the state of Texas," he said. The Dallas Morning News later reported that the down payment will come from the state's Department of Criminal Justice. More than 450 miles of border wall, including in Texas, was built during the Trump administration. That construction was suddenly halted by the Biden admin shortly after the president took office. Opponents of wall construction said it was cruel and ineffective, while proponents said it was a vital part of border strategy to stop the flow of illegal immigration. So this article actually answers a few questions that Elaine had when we first brought this back up. And I only brought this back up because there is a down payment. This is going to happen. But she did bring up the question of what happens with the places, like how does he get the wall built in the land that spans into Mexico that has been held for generations without going through the acts of eminent domain. And it looks like from this, he's actually not going to. He's going to leave those people alone. He's going to build the wall where he can without forcing people off their land or buying up portions of the land or donations of land. He's going to go where he can and deal with the rest at another time. Which I think is fair. And especially he's doing it state. Like he's not involving the federal government. I like this. I actually like this idea if he holds true with this. Now, if he tries to go eminent domain, we're going to have a little bit of a problem. Because I don't believe in that. Unless he is paying 10 times the fair market value of the property that he's trying to eminent domain. 10 times the fair market value, and you can get me on board. But I hate eminent domain in and of itself. So if he can do that, then okay, you're fairly compensating people at that point. More than fairly, which I'm okay with. But yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to do anything on land that's owned that people don't want to give up. So we may have found a compromise here somewhere. All right, let's grab one from the Hill. Florida officers to respond to border security crisis in Texas and Arizona. From Carolyn Vakil. Ron DeSantis announced Wednesday that law enforcement officers from his state will be deployed in Texas and Arizona to address challenges at the border. DeSantis, seen by many as a potential GOP presidential candidate in 2024, said he was responding to the failure of the Biden admin to secure our southern border and wanted to provide additional security to the two states after the governors of Texas and Arizona released a joint statement Thursday requesting that states provide law enforcement resources to the border. America's border security crisis impacts every state and every American, DeSantis said Wednesday in a statement. Florida is going to support Texas and Arizona. We believe that securing the southern border is important for our country, but specifically we believe it'll benefit the people of Florida to be able to get this under control. And so where the federal government has failed, the states are stepping up and doing our best to fill the void, he added during a press conference in Pensacola, Florida. Now this actually might run afoul. It's on a volunteer basis, so I don't know if it will, but this might run afoul of interstate commerce. I believe a federal court is going to have to get involved in this one. I don't know what the answer is either. I can't come out and say, oh, this is perfectly legal, or this is completely illegal, and the federal government needs to get involved. I think this is going to run afoul, but I'm not 100% sure of interstate commerce. Because it's government agencies working together with each other. I think Congress has to get involved in this. Don't quote me on that. I would have to go double check my Constitution, but I think that this might have to get at least the federal court involved. So we'll see what happens with that. The volunteer basis makes it a little bit sketchy, but I'm not sure where that goes. I mean, it's based as hell. Go in and say, okay, we're going to help our neighbor even if we're nowhere close to the border. But I've also been noticing a lot that, I mean, for a small government Republican, Ron DeSantis sure does love mandates, doesn't he? And he sure does love a lot of top-down control, bypassing his legislature and bypassing Congress and the will of other states as well. I'm getting a little bit wary of Ron DeSantis. He's making good decisions, but the execution is making me wary. I am starting to get very, very wary of Ron. Like I said, I like what he's doing. It's the execution. I don't know, man. And I like Ron DeSantis. I think he's a good guy. All right, what can we squeeze in? We will go until 9:05. What can we squeeze in to finish up here? Let's do this one here from CNN. This is a video only. So let's not do this one. But let's actually put that up on the one we're going to cover on Monday, too, because then I will go and find a non-video article. But yeah, apparently they just moved all the Cyber Ninja stuff from Arizona. They just moved all that up to Montana. But we're not going to watch a 3-minute video on that, so we'll cover that one on Monday. Here's another one for you. Ex-Colorado GOP chair accused of stealing more than $250,000 from pro-Trump PAC. By the way, if you want to get those last-minute messages in, I would start doing so right now because it's almost time for the live chat, you guys. And then we'll go raid Stephen Ignoramus because I think he just buzzed in as the fact that he's on. Ex-Colorado GOP chair accused of stealing more than $250,000 from pro-Trump PAC from Lexi Lonis. The former chairman of the Colorado Republican Party is being accused of stealing more than $250,000 from Political Action Committee that supported former President Trump. A disciplinary complaint says Ryan Cull stole almost $280,000 while he was the PAC's treasurer for 3 years, Colorado Newsline reported. The complaint filed June 2nd alleges that Cull knowingly misappropriated the funds from the PAC. Respondent knowingly misappropriated $278,169.45 from Rebuilding America Now, the complaint says. Specifically, he transferred the same amount of RAN funds to himself, knowing that the funds belonged to RAN, and knowing that he was not entitled to the funds and that RAN had not authorized him to take the funds for his own purposes. Cull allegedly transferred the money to himself in 37 different transactions between September 2016 and January 2019. The complaint also says he didn't report a contribution to Rebuilding America Now PAC for $1 million for more than 2 years, according to the local outlet. He ended up reporting $1 million in 2018. Good. Put this guy in fucking prison. And I don't care that he stole from, like, the Republican Party. Or anything like that. I mean, this isn't a partisan thing for me. He stole. People donated that money with expectation to get a specific service out of that, and he stole that money. Don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. Put this fucker in prison. He's done. All right. What do we want to do? One more. Two more. One more, two more. Let's do this one. We'll do this one because you guys haven't really sufficiently disturbed enough. And hey, we might actually even get a few comments out of the live chat from this one here. From TMZ, this will be what we close the show with, then we'll do live chat. Priyanka Chopra and Megan Rapinoe join Victoria's Secret's roster, but hold the lingerie. Now, as far as Rapinoe goes, God no, but I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Priyanka Chopra in Victoria's Secret, I'm not going to lie. Have you seen the rack on that chick? It's not sexist, she's going to be an underwear model. She wants people looking at her rack, or specifically what's holding it up. Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Megan Rapinoe are going to rep Victoria's Secret, but instead of flaunting their bods, they'll be sharing their minds. Yep, times are changing. The lingerie... Okay, I guess I have to take back everything I just said a second ago. The lingerie giant announced that it's brought the actress and U.S. women's soccer legend on board as its newest spokeswoman. The company's rebranding to be more inclusive and appeal to a wider audience, and it's hired the duo to spearhead the new Victoria's Secret mission, inspiring change and positivity. The new marketing strategy doesn't call for Megan or Priyanka to put on angel wings or skimpy lingerie outfits, which in Chopra's case is a shame. Instead, the duo will appear on a podcast and in other marketing materials. Some of their guests, as the New York Post first reported, will include South Sudanese-Australian model Adut Akech, freestyle skier Eileen Gu, Brazilian transgender model Valentina Sampaio, plus-size model Paloma Elcesar, and journalist Amanda de Cadenet. The women form what Victoria's Secret is calling the BS Collective, a platform attempting to build deeper relationships with women of all backgrounds. Priyanka is no stranger to advocating for women's rights, like speaking on behalf of UNICEF, an org she worked with since 2006. She also has a namesake foundation that helps sick children around the globe. Which, I mean, that's cool. I like that. Meghan's championed women's rights. Since finding a stardom on the pitch, she's advocated for equal pay and LGBTQ plus rights ever since she had a platform. In fact, earlier this year, she testified before Congress pushing for equal pay. And once again, bring in equal money. I mean, you're working on a situation where your pay is directly affected by the number of people you draw to a stadium. And you don't draw as many people to the stadium as the men's team does. But that's another story for another time. I know I say that all the time, but yeah, that's something that is going to take way too long to cover at 9:07 in the morning when I have to go to work at 10. VS's rebrand comes after nearly 3 years after the company's chief marketing officer made a controversial comment to Vogue about transgender models. He has since left the company. Now, I'm glad that they're not going to put Megan Rapinoe in lingerie and put her out in front of the world. I'm very glad for that. But, I mean, you make underwear. Victoria's Secret, you make underwear. People are going to want to know what they look like. I mean, obviously, you're not going to get what the average American woman looks like on the runway in underwear. Maybe Ashley Graham. But for the most part, I mean, you're not going to be doing that. But they still want to see what this looks like on a human body. You're not selling wokeness. You're selling underpants. So sell underpants. Well, that's all I have for that. There are no other words for this. Other than that, I think we're done. Let's go and get this bookmarked here. We will put this here. So I remember to go put all of this. Oh, we got to move this a little bit more. So we will do this one and this one. And the rest of these will go on for Monday. We will finish this up on Monday. Let's do some live chat. So if you guys want to get a last minute message in at this point, go ahead and do so. But this is the point where we read the live chat live and go and thank everybody else who chatted in the live chat through the end of the show. So first thing we're going to do is throughout the week here, and we had Ron Helton. I'm sorry, that's last week. This is the one we want. On Monday, we had Random Randy was here, Quest Fanning. Ron Helton was here. Sully Blue showed up on Monday. Harvey McLeod was here. Phoenix Bear, that was a new name in here, but thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Chilaga 1984 and Joker the Don was here on Monday. On Tuesday, we got rated by another program on Tuesday, but we had, oh, by the way, it looks like I got a new follow during the show here. Thank you, SS Germanic Youths. That's probably going to be a name that caused a little bit of problem here. And we also had Unicycle Man donated 2 ice creams during the course of the day, so thank you for that as well. On Tuesday, we had USA Hole, Digital Bean, Sully Blue was here, Quest Fanning, Fractal Dust Bear, Ron Helton, in a couple different accounts was here, R Volt was here, Chilaga 1984, we also had VRSA LO27 and Linda Cloud. On Wednesday, we had Quest Fanning, Sully Blue, Random Randy was here, Ron Helton was here, Spartan 0000 Superior 1 was here, Pepe the Groundhog showed up, Vampire Hunter D, thanks to you as well, Chilaga 1984, we had No to Bud. Well, I have to say no to Bud because I'm a CDL, but many other people can say yes to Bud, and I fully support that. Yesterday, we had Ron Helton, Chilaga 1984, Spartan 0000 Superior, Quest Fanning, Sully Blue, Popeye Doyle was in here. A little bit of He didn't care a lot for the message, I don't think, but that's cool. It's not for everybody. Random Randy was here. Sir Simpin, Nephilim's alt account, and Nephilim was here on his main account as well. Arvolt was here, and Jubella asked us if we wanted to become famous and buy subs and primes. All right, what do we have today? Quest Fanning's here with a good morning. And I pointed out that, because Sully Blue had mentioned before that slept through hit the snooze button, which I did. I got up, I was roused awake by the thunder at 1:30 in the morning, which was lame. Or I'm sorry, not at 1:30, at 3 in the morning, which was lame. And then laid awake until 4. I had to go take my laundry in too, because I had laundry hanging outside, which that's soaked now. And the sun is out at this point too. And then, when 5 a.m. hit and the alarm clock went off and my body said, nope, we ain't doing that right now. But, it happened. Quest Fanning was here. I was up till 1:30 and then dragged my ass out of bed at 7 local. Tired, too tired. I think he might have gone taking a nap because my Twitch viewership has dropped off for the day. Quest says, I usually be up at the 5:30 to 6:20 range. Yep. Dueling robots in the chat. Randy is here. Sully Blue is here. Shilaga 1984 is here. Thank you, guys. I don't Schumer, you Schumer, says Quest Fanning. I love it. Disclosure and some other anti-corruption stuff sounds good. Can we throw in university requiring ID? No, we can't. Not because I don't like the idea, but because it's unconstitutional to do so. I love the idea, but we have the Constitution first. So urge your local state representatives to make voting laws to end the corruption. What was Newt Gingrich's plan for a permanent majority? I don't know. I bet you he had one, though. Because he's Newt Gingrich. Today is Chilaga's last day of vacation. Have a great Friday, everyone. Take it chill. Chilaga. I can't do an Austin Powers voice. Quest says, yesterday I had lunch at a bar, and one of the folks I chatted with was a Democrat in town from Atlanta, and he said quite a few Georgia Dems were sick of Abrams belly aching. There are a lot of people that are sick of Stacey Abrams at this point. Quest says, funny that they're quietly accepting that inflation is going to be big with this indexing of the gas tax. Sully says, well, looks like it's time to buy Heelys. I knew this day would come. Remember Cash for Clunkers? A bunch of perfectly good cars turned into environmental pollution in the form of becoming trash. Oh, and we were forced to pay for it. Yeah, oh. I'm a car guy, too, and that just pissed me off. To no end. Because they were taking these cars, and I don't want to get into this right now because this actually makes a good monologue for across the board. So we got to see if we can get some across the board people up there. But, I mean, the Cash for Clunkers thing, they were taking these perfectly good cars that maybe needed a set of brakes or maybe a little bit of minor engine work. And I've seen some of the stuff that were taken. Like, I worked at a dealership, like at a Ford dealership, not like a big truck dealership. I worked at a Ford dealership at the time that they were doing Cash for Clunkers. And saw the cars that were coming in as Cash for Clunkers because they were getting traded in on a brand new vehicle that people couldn't afford at the time. And a lot of people lost their asses on the credit for buying a vehicle that they couldn't afford because they got a great big down payment on their old beater car, and then we were told to go out there on a car with a bad head gasket. An inline 4 car that would have taken probably 4 hours to put head gasket in. And I was ordered by the service manager to go out there with a drill and drill a hole in the side of the block so it couldn't be resold. Because that's what the fucking government wanted. I hate Cash for Clunkers. Oh, God, I hate Cash for Clunkers. Ron with the mosquitoes over on the Trovo side, thank you. Quest says this is a good idea. It doesn't stand a snowball's chance in hell. Sully asked what the Instagram was. That is JEdgar102 is my Instagram. You can always come over and check it. It does make a good backup over there. Because if something does go down, like the internet crashes, my phone is on mobile. I don't put my phone on Wi-Fi to do this because I've got unlimited data now. So I just do it right from the regular mobile data on that. So if something does go down, you guys can jump over to the Instagram and I can tell you what happened. So yeah, if you have Instagram, go over there and follow. I know Chilaga's been over there. I know that Post Jazz comes over there once in a while. Go over there and follow the Instagram, JEdgar102, and then if something does happen, a lightning strikes and power goes out and takes the router with it, you'll at least know what's happening and why everything disappeared. Or if they shut me down midstream, you'll know that too. Quest says, I wonder if MLK Day is going to go back to being optional at my office. Freedom, baby. Yeah, no, I love the idea of what Juneteenth is. It's just the execution, the fact that I see people being othered for it. SS Dramatic Youth is here. Hello, sir. Now, hi. That's probably going to... That's an account that's probably going to get me in trouble somewhere down the line. Arvolt says, have you changed your icon to what? Is it a black square again? Hey, you leave the people from Family Matters out of this. Black squares are welcome too. Quest will drink to any of these good celebrations. Our economy is in tatters, but let's worry about who voted for or against a symbolic gesture. It's Juneteenth, not July 10th. Yeah, I love that too, and I saw somebody else that pointed out the fact that Juneteenth is now a federal holiday, which means that rich white bankers are going to get another day off paid. I'm all for repeal, a tiny but useful step on the Iraq authorization. Yeah, good. In practice, presidents will still involve themselves in foreign adventures of more than just standardly allowed 30 days. Yeah. The only people I know who got the insurance off the ACA market are those who couldn't afford their previous insurance after passing the ACA. That's Random Randy. I know a few people who actually got onto it because, I mean, at the time that this all passed, most people were working. I mean, people weren't working the good jobs. They were working at a Taco Bell. And they could get onto it from that. So I see people from that. Quest says, just touching back on the war powers, Congress has constantly shirked their responsibility in the past. Yeah. Neff says, then why admit any guilt? Seawall is here in his armored half-track. Neff says, South Africa has electric shock defense in their high-end cars. Sully liked my song lyrics. Randy says, I wouldn't be surprised if Hyundai Kia are stolen more because of their keyless ignition. Most of the cars that have that are more expensive, and now more power income people have access to it, but aren't used to it. Well, there's that, and there's also the fact that, I mean, there's low security on these lower-end cars. It's not your, well, we saw the Sportage going and getting stolen, but, I mean, it's not your high-end Hyundai Tiburon that's getting stolen. It's your Elantra that's getting stolen in this. Random says, does he know that he's not supposed to say that he plans to use tax money to illegals? Probably not. I love how you always call it Ron when reading from Bloomberg. I just want to see Bloom butt in the chat. That's the only reason I do it. Because that made me laugh so hard the first time I saw it. That's what I want to do. Just see Bloom butt pop up in the chat. Sully says, actually, that's smart. It will force illegals onto land he can't build on until the owners are fed up and strike a deal. Yeah, that's actually interesting to see, and you know, maybe we'll see what happens with that. I'm sure that there's going to be some sort of a addendum for that, so we'll see what happens with that. Seawall's revving the half-track engine. Sully Blue wants to get in because it's nuts out here. Seawall's revving the half-track. Quest Fanning says, how's the half-track running, Seawall? And that's going to be it for the day. So, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. Where's the music? We can't thank you guys without music. All right. No, this one. All right, thanks guys for coming and hanging out with me on the live chat. No Saturday stream this weekend because I am, and I mentioned this before, going to the wedding that I could not read the invitation for last weekend. I'm going to the wedding I was supposed to be at last weekend, except for it's tomorrow. And I went up to my mom and dad's for nothing, except I changed the oil in my truck. That's a good thing. That's cool. But other than that, yeah, we'll be back here on Monday for more Contemporary. Some things are coming up in the near future too, so we'll talk a bit about those as they go. But we will be back here on Monday for more Contemporary, and we'll see you there. And we'll see what's going on with that and check in with the news that happened over the weekend. Otherwise, if you're on Twitch, stick around. We're going to go raid Stephen Ignoramus. Whoever my one viewer is on Twitch, we're going to go raid Stephen Ignoramus. So stick around for that. Otherwise, the rest of us are going to head off of here, and I do recommend that you go over there and check out Stephen Ignoramus' show. Other than that, we will see you guys on Monday for more Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.